as the party is geared up for the presidential polls 2022. In the run-up to the polls became a test of opposition unity, which saw frictions from the very beginning. UPA member JMM from Jharkhand extended support for the NDA candidate early on in a bid to extend support to the tribal candidate Droupadi Murmu. Days later, the BSP chief Mayawati also declared that she will be supporting the NDA candidate, adding to the opposition's woes. Congress's former allies in Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray's Sena camp, has also now announced that they will also support Droupadi Murmu in today's elections. The presidential polls were a test ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha polls that are hardly 2 years away now. As the opposition continues to struggle to come together, it begs us to ask the question, who can unite the opposition, and is that unity even possible? What are going to be the larger national ramifications of the presidential polls? What does it mean not just for the tribal upliftment of the of those who are downtrodden in the country, but what's the larger message which the BJP is trying to give by nominating a person like Droupadi Murmu, who is most likely to be the first tribal woman president of India? To discuss all of this and more, I am being joined by a panel of experts. Charu Pragya of the BJP joining us, Gautam Seth, Congress spokesperson also with us, Priyanka Kakkar, Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson also with us, Vijay Krishnan from Shiv Sena with us, Alok Mehta, editorial director of India News also with us. All right. Before we open this up for discussion, let's listen into what Aditya Thackeray had to say. Aditya Thackeray had sworn support for Droupadi Murmu in a very significant move after the Shiv Sena said that they will be backing Droupadi Murmu. Came out, spoke to the media, underlining his support, or his party's support rather, for Droupadi Murmu. Let's listen in.
जो राष्ट्रपति महोदय की चुनाव है उसमें हमने शिवसेना पक्ष का जो है समर्थन वो पूरा मुर्मू जी के साथ दिया है। हमें यही लगता है कि प्रेसिडेंशियल पोल्स एक कहीं भी कोई भी राजकीय चुनाव से अलग होते हैं। ये सर्वोच्च पद है और यहाँ एक उचित व्यक्ति को ही मतदान होना चाहिए और इसलिए आज हमने ये निर्णय लिया है।
All right, we just heard what Aditya Thackeray had to say, and since we are talking about the unity in the opposition camp, it's only fair that I bring in Gautam Seth, who's representing the Congress, into the conversation first. Gautam Seth, what would you say today? Where do you think the fallacy lied with the opposition's game plan? End of the day, even a layman could have predicted how these presidential polls are going to play out the day the BJP declared that Droupadi Murmu is going to be their presidential candidate. In fact, your own allies have compulsions. They have a huge amount of tribal vote bank. The last thing they can do is go against, Droupadi Murmu. Are you not suspecting perhaps even cross-voting by your own MLAs and MPs, perhaps those who are representing the scheduled tribe seats? Isn't there a conundrum which you see, or had that escaped the opposition's eyes altogether?
See, what we need to first understand is that the post of the President of India is the custodian of the Constitution. It is more of a fight between two ideologies rather than making it symbolic to the identity. And that is where I would like to bring in. Didn't Congress work for tribal empowerment? We gave the first tribal chief minister to Gujarat in 1985. We gave the first tribal chief minister to Odisha in 1988. We gave the first woman president to India, Pratibha Devi Singh Patil ji. We gave the first Dalit president to India, K.R. Narayanan ji. So the question here is not about the politics of identity. The question here is about the politics of ideology and about safeguarding the Constitution of India, about safeguarding the procedures and the parliamentary culture of this country, which is under severe attack, is what we need to understand. To raise the voice for the common man with the kind of महंगाई जिस तरह बढ़ती जा रही है, the expenses that the common man is not able to afford. But while you also keep on questioning about the opposition unity, I would like to bring in here, didn't the Shiv Sena choose to vote for Pratibha Devi Singh Patil and Pranab Mukherjee ji while they were with the BJP?
I was expecting you to make that point, and Charu Pragya, if you could come in here. Many from the BJP have been attacking the opposition, claiming that they are anti-tribal, that they are not, voting for Droupadi Murmu, and the opposition's counter, a part of it which you just heard, is that you also voted against Pratibha Patil. That didn't make the BJP an anti-woman party. On what basis are you today attacking the opposition? That's what the opposition had to say. What will you say, ma'am, today? Charu Pragya, can you hear us? Okay, I'm not too sure if Charu. Oh, Charu, I think you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself quickly, please? Yes, go ahead.
I'm unmuted, but I got disconnected for a moment there. So could you please repeat the
All right.
question
So
to me, Meenakshi?
my question was: many in the BJP today are calling the opposition, the Congress and others, anti-tribals, anti-women, because they have chosen to back Yashwant Sinha and not Droupadi Murmu. Now, the Congress really, when they hit out at you, claim that you all also voted against Pratibha Patil. That didn't make your party anti-women. So why doesn't that argument apply to them as well at at this point of time today? Charu, can you hear us? Okay, we'll fix that connection with Charu,
yes.
and then we will go back to her. Meanwhile, let me bring in Vijay Krishnan of the Shiv Sena. Mr. Krishnan, Shiv Sena has made it absolutely clear that you will be backing Droupadi Murmu. End of the day, do you not think that it does show the chinks in the armors of the opposition unity? Shiv Sena anyway is a divided house. The fact that you are backing Droupadi Murmu is being interpreted by many as Uddhav faction going soft on the BJP, perhaps even hinting, speculations at least are rife, at a possible reunion.
Yeah, good evening. But I would like to tell you, we are only looking at the periphery or the surface of the issue. But you need to go beneath and see. And we have to appreciate the makers of our constitution. While electing the president, they made it mandatory that it is a vote where we elect indirectly the president of India through conscience. So no political party would issue a whip saying that you will only vote for the candidate we have selected or nominated. So I think I've answered this question. And it is very clear in the words of our leader, Sri Aditya Thackeray ji, and by exercising his conscience and lakhs of Shiv Seniks, we have decided that Droupadi Murmu ji is the most eligible candidate for the president of India. Being the president of India,
Okay.
we have neither seen the color, we have neither seen the creed of it, and we all wish they were like Martin Luther King said, where a white boy and a black girl shares a cup of coffee or on the same table.
Okay, I take your point. You're saying that this has nothing to do with the BJP. You are supporting the candidate and not the party. But Priyanka Kakkar, since your party has... all right, I think Charu Pragya is back. Charu, I'll come back to you. Priyanka, the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, also with us. Priyanka, since the Aam Aadmi Party has made it clear that you all will be supporting Mr. Sinha and not Droupadi Murmu, do you not expect an electoral backlash? Because you have Gujarat elections just around the corner, where Aam Aadmi Party is trying to make its presence felt, and most of the ST seats there, which are being held by the Congress, that's the catchment area which the BJP is eyeing. Do you not think that it could possibly have repercussions, your decision on assembly polls as well?
Absolutely not. And why I say this is because, previously we had a Dalit president. And in fact, I'm glad that you brought up this point. Despite the Dalit president, the atrocities and crimes against Dalits in all of the BJP ruled states, especially Gujarat, have increased to 72% under Ramnath Kovindji's presidentship. So clearly, identity has got nothing to do with what is happening on the ground here. And we have unanimously, the PSC yesterday, as you are aware, the PSC yesterday unanimously decided to back Mr. Yashwant Sinha, rightly so, because it is a matter of ideology and not identity. And going back to I was giving the statistics for crime against Dalits. We have heard of atrocious.
They haven't gone down. That's the point which you are making,
have
Charu
increased.
Pragya.
They have increased.
I've taken your point. Charu Pragya of the BJP is here. Charu, there have been two charges coming your way from the opposition, one from the Congress, another from the Aam Aadmi Party. I'll take you through both of them and you can reply to them in one go. First, of course, you just heard the Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson. They say that the president belonging to a tribal community, according to them, is merely symbolic. It doesn't change anything on ground. How would you react to that? And secondly, the Congress also saying that when you all voted against Pratibha Patil, it didn't make you anti-women. So why doesn't the same logic apply today? Respond.
So, Meenakshi, first of all, there's been so much of democratic discussion around this presidential election, and it's very welcome, of course. But the beauty of the president's election this time is that whether you are in the NDA or you belong to a party which is in the opposition today, you're standing up for causes you believe in, you're standing up for people and candidates you believe in, and I have a lot of respect for that. I think that's the magic of our democracy. There can be a BJD or a BSP or a Shiv Sena or a Akali Dal or AMM, which might not see eye to eye on most issues with NDA, but they will come together.
But those backing Mr. Sinha are calling your choice merely symbolic. That's the question here. How do you respond to that charge?
I actually have been finding this statement very upsetting and very disrespectful, and it's frankly regrettable, because here is a lady who's proved her mettle, whether in social life or in politics. It's not somebody who's occupying a chair with no track record. She has been a teacher. She has been a two-term legislator. She has been a governor, the first governor to finish a 5-year term in the state of Jharkhand. So she knows the pulse of the people. She's been amongst them. She is very respected. And we are very proud that we have an opportunity today to see her in the highest office of the country. I think this is only a case of this is also only a case of a lot of people in the opposition choosing to object to issues only on the basis of Modi ji supporting
point taken. That's an interesting point you make, and I'll go back to the Congress spokesperson on the same. Alok Mehta is also here with us. Sir, Alok sir, you're hearing, of course, what each political party has to say, but as a neutral observer, would you say, or would you buy the argument which the BJP is making today, that somehow by nominating someone who belongs to an underprivileged background to be the first citizen of the country, they have been able to inject the checkered history of the tribal people, of those, of course, who have been suffering for ages into the mainstream political discourse, and that's something which could possibly help the BJP electorally as well?
Meenakshi, can I also...
I'll come to you. I'll come to all of you. Let Mr. Mehta answer. He's been listening to all of us very patiently for the last 15 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
No, tribal area, the RSS and BJP were working since last 30-40 years. I know about it. That's why from northeast to Odisha or in Chhattisgarh, in Jharkhand, you deferred their ideology. And here the question our Congress friend asking about the ideology. Yashwant Sinha's ideology, because when he was in service, since then I know I am following as a journalist. When he was a DTC chairman, then he was in the Chandrasekhar minister. He was not in the at that time, and then he denied with joining Chandrasekhar when he was out of power. Then he wrote in his own autobiography about his experience, the confession, what he called confession. I will never go with Congress because I don't believe in the Congress ideology. I will never go with them. And so, because he is written, not myself. So when you say about the ideology, then the charges were against him, UTI scam. Aam Aadmi Party also say we are ideology. What ideology? Yashwant Sinha was in power with Chandrasekhar and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. But what he did, that's why he is out of power.
That's
why he's power. So many allegations against him.
That's an interesting...
nothing ideology.
Okay, that's an interesting point you say. That's an interesting point you make. You say it has nothing to do with ideology. I've taken your point, sir, and I will get a counter from the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party as well before going to the BJP. But there are reports coming in that there are rumors of cross-voting also reportedly from the Congress faction. That's what sources are telling us. These rumors and speculations have been doing the rounds today. It was a SAM's AIUDF MLA Karimuddin Barubuya who first alleged that the Congress MLAs will cross-vote in the presidential polls. In fact, as I said earlier, that these speculations have been rife from the morning today, adding to the Congress's embarrassment. Congress's Odisha MLA Mohammad Mokim has announced that he has supported the NDA candidate Droupadi Murmu in the polls, and that's exactly my point which I was earlier trying to make with the Congress spokesperson on the panel. In fact, there is another Congress MLA from another state who's made similar charges that they have actually supported the NDA's Droupadi Murmu. Would you like to come in? Gautam Seth here, and this is exactly the point I was making. Did you not anticipate this sort of conundrum for your own MLAs, for your own MPs? End of the day, someone who has been selected or elected from a scheduled tribe reserved seat, on what basis do they reject Droupadi Murmu? And if they do so, how do they go back to the electorate?
Exactly what our fight is for.
Okay.
We are basically fighting so that the constitutional values exist in this country. We are basically fighting so that the parliamentary culture enhances in this country. When you talk about such issues, you look at what happened in Maharashtra, using the enforcement directorate and other agencies at merely their puppets and making other people pressurized so that they can win one symbolic poll or one thing or the other.
Okay.
So the question here is that
Okay.
there is an absolute illegitimate use of the central
So
agency.
you're saying you're sort of harping on the same point, claiming that it's a battle of ideologies. But I sort of fail to understand how you don't see that out of 27 reserved seats in Gujarat, 15 belong to your own party, and that's what the BJP is eyeing. And if you don't think it's going to have any repercussion at all or any bearing on the assembly elections, that's your point of view. But Priyanka Kakkad, and I will go back to Charu because I know that she's been itching to take on the Congress spokesperson. But I'm sure another jibe is coming Charu's way from Aam Aadmi Party. Let's take that, and then the BJP can answer that. Priyanka, speaking about the choice of Yashwant Sinha, do you not think that the choice itself is a little puzzling, considering that all the credentials which he has to flaunt today, they all have been either under Atal Bihari Vajpayee or Chandrasekhar era. I mean, everything which he has to, of course, highlight when it comes to his achievements are all under the same BJP governments, the same BJP who you are targeting. It does seem that the only reason why Mr. Sinha has been picked by the opposition is because of his extreme criticism of Narendra Modi.
So, Meenakshi, there is one thing I'll slightly disagree, that he, from what I understand, he is not from the same era of BJP, because he belongs to an era where Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji said, "Mandi saji hui hai."
So you endorse that era and not this? So you're saying
I'm just countering your point where you say it seems that it belongs to the same era. Yeah, okay. I'm just countering to that extent. Coming back to this, what also happens, Meenakshi, as you're aware, that he's the commander of the army. He will be the appointing authority for judges. And in today's day and age, it is absolutely essential that we have a opposing voice, which is not opposing just for the mere sake of opposing, but because of I come back to the ideological differences. And why I come back to the ideological differences is because today, not just the president, but the entire cabinet under the NDA government is a rubber stamp government. So it is absolutely essential to save the constitutional values of this country, to save the idea of India, to ensure that there is a strong opposition.
Rubber stamp is what the Aam Aadmi Party has to say about your presidential candidate. Charu Pragya, would you like to respond? And I know you want to answer back the Congress's spokesperson as well.
Regrettable that this kind of language is being used for our president.
Let me tell Charuji that rubber stamps can be intelligent. That there can be intelligent.
Okay, one by one. Point taken. I take your point.
Do not degrade the argument.
No. Yes. Okay. Let's not.
As well.
Okay. Let Charu respond. We've heard you. Charu, please go ahead quickly. Yes.
An intelligent rubber stamps in the NDA government.
So I think it is really regrettable that people who have proved their mettle, people who have reached there through sheer grit and hard work and devotion to people, are being questioned by the opposition only for the sake of it. On the question of ideology, I want to say one more thing. Of course, all these calculations are being thrown at me today. But the fact is that my party stands for Antyodaya. My party stands for ensuring that we reach the last man standing and we make sure every section
of Charu, I'm sure. Okay, I take your point. That, by nominating Droupadi Murmu, you want to project your party as an all-inclusive party, but I'm sure the electoral calculations were not lost on anyone. Look at the ST population. You speak of Maharashtra 10%, Odisha about 23%, Rajasthan 13%, Gujarat also a large number of reserved seats. So you are eyeing the catchment areas. There's no doubt about that.
I just wanted to say one more thing. When somebody like Murmu ji is nominated for presidential election, we are raising the benchmark of our democracy, and that happens when politicians are able to honestly support a candidate which does not come from their fold. I think that's absolutely amazing. So you have to be right. Your social engineering is going in the right direction. When even the opposition applauds your candidate and says, we stand with you. And this is also a lot of credit to Murmu ji, who has been touring the country, who has been meeting opposition leaders and garnering their support. So you have
Okay,
to
and
give
nobody, yes, okay, and nobody is taking that credit away, and that should not be the case. I can see Gautam Seth raising his hand. I do understand you want to come in here. Let me take a quick question, short one, from Vijay Krishnan as well. He's been listening very patiently to all of us. Vijay, help us understand what was the Shiv Sena's game plan behind backing Droupadi Murmu. Is it to be interpreted as complete capitulation by Uddhav Thackeray, considering it does look like that he's losing support and has no option as of now but to listen to the majority?
This is what I've been saying on all channels. Shiv Sena is an independent political party. It stands on its own, and it has got its own way of deciding things. So you can't say just they had no other opportunity and they had to cater what you're saying. They had to compromise or to give in to the pressure of BJP. What we are saying is that Droupadi Murmu is not only represents a tribe, but she also represents the great Indian tribe. When I see
so you are backing
our Droupadi Murmu, she had been a good teacher, and she had a nice experience as a politician. Please, I'm saying, please. And why I am fired today is that certain people spoke about her ideology. I'm saying Shiv Sena is only party that advocates Hindutva and genuine Hindutva, unlike BJP. Please understand. So why I had to wait in this debate is that Yashwant Sinha ji has talked about the democracy in danger. Where the hell in this country the democracy is in danger? Yes, I'm opposed to the misuse of one second. We are opposed to the misuse of departments. Either it is ED or CBI, but we are not against these departments. Please quote and unquote Yashwant Sinha's comments. They're like Naxal. He spoke like an urban Naxal. He says, I'm fighting against central departments. Sorry, you have to fight corruption in the central departments. You have to fight the misuse of power by BJP, but not oppose the country. I don't want any vice president who invites Pakistani spies and says that all is okay.
Okay, so Gautam said you just heard the Shiv Sena, someone who's representing the Shiv Sena, that's your partner. I don't know, erstwhile partner, or how I should describe the Shiv Sena. The Mahavikas Aghadi still exists. Doesn't this, the sort of indictment which came Mr. Yashwant Sinha's way itself expose really how there is no unity amidst the opposition?
See, all of us in politics, especially the Bharatiya Janata Party, all of us will need to ask ourselves one question today. Whatever we are doing in the electoral process of this country, the presidential election, what is it aimed at? It is aimed at strengthening the democracy of the country. It is aimed at making public welfare into action on ground. You make a Dalit president, atrocities on Dalits keep on growing and growing. There is price hike in the country like never before. The parliament is only discussing 20% of the bills in the standing committee.
Sir, but you're digressing. You're digressing from the topic.
You need to realize, please let me complete. What you need to realize today is that we are fighting a battle against the complete distortion of the constitutional
You are saying you're fighting. You're saying you're fighting.
Public welfare actually happening.
No, you're saying you're fighting an ideological battle. But I'm a little surprised you not see the dichotomy here. Rahul Gandhi himself started a Adivasi Satyagraha in Gujarat, and now when your party will vote against someone who's representing the pride of the tribals today, do you not think it could send a wrong message at all? Could it not send a wrong message at all to the electorate? Are you worried about it or not? That's it.
I ask you a question. Was the BJP anti-Dalit when they voted against K.R. Narayanan ji? Were they anti-Dalit and women when they voted against Meera Kumar ji in the vice presidential election? Aren't we here to fight battle for the welfare of the people, for the strengthening of democracy?
Charu wants to come in.
What are we doing politics for?
I've taken your point, and that's a similar point, Charu, which the Congress is reiterating, claiming that voting against a candidate doesn't mean that you are against the community or the ideology the party, the candidate represents. Apologies.
No, and that's fair enough. I mean, this is a free country. This is a democracy. You can vote for whoever you like. But the way you choose to put down the NDD candidate, that is what I'm objected to, Meenakshi. Another thing is that I think the Congress spokesperson is as confused as his leader, Rahul Gandhi ji, because they're not really sure where they're putting putting their eggs in which basket, because on one side they want to talk about tribals, on the other side they put Droupadi ji down. You've been hearing it all along. On one side they aim to be people who are somewhat saving democracy in this country, but on the other side they're not even present on the ground to fight people's battles. So what democracy are you saving? And when you talk about Dalits, when you talk about atrocities against Dalits, I request you to go back home and look at the numbers for the state of Rajasthan, one of the only two states you have left with you.
Okay, I know Priyanka wants to come in. I've reached the end of the debate. I've taken your point, Priyanka, last word. Okay, let me give one word to Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson. I have about 20 seconds remaining. Priyanka, over to you.
It is pretty appalling to me how Charuji expects that they go back and check at the numbers. You know, the numbers I'm telling you that since Ramnath Kovind ji was appointed the president since 2014, crime against Dalit has been
I've taken your point. You're sort of reiterating the same point. I've taken.
I am for rising atrocities. Is that what you're saying? Are you blaming the president for it?
No, I'm saying that it was symbolism. It didn't matter on the
ground.
And I don't understand
I've run out of time. I'd like to thank all the guests. Symbolism is what the opposition says. Far as the BJP is concerned, they say that it is a real representation of the underprivileged. The fact that Droupadi Murmu is set to be the first tribal president of the country, certainly it's groundbreaking. It's history in the making, which we are witnessing. Whichever way, of course, we can conduct the debate, but end of the day, the result of these presidential elections seems to be a foregone conclusion. Droupadi Murmu, going by the numbers, seem to be the next president of our country. Whether there'll be cross-voting or not, what it means for the opposition unity, and if it will have any impact on the assembly elections when it comes to the catchment areas, the reserved ST seats, we'll have to wait and watch.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.